I'm Jude, I'm a queer man in my mid-30s, and in an attempt to remind myself that life really actually is worth living, I've bought a house in the middle of nowhere and moved to the Scottish countryside.
All jobs stop for geese appreciation. As much as I hate starting the week redoing something I did the week before, I did some reading and realised my rhubarb crowns probably needed more nutrients, seeing as I'd given them precisely none at all. The kitchen in the cottage is definitely not my dream kitchen. I love the amount of daylight it gets, and even though it's small, it's got more worktop space than my last kitchen. What it lacks is cupboard space, water pressure, plug sockets in useful places, room for a full-size fridge, and a sink big enough to comfortably wash dishes in. None of these are things I can really do anything about until the renovation, but there's a couple of jobs I'd like to do in here just to make it a bit nicer in the meantime.
My initial plan was to paint the cupboard door behind me, but the thing that I like the least about it is the handle. And I'm not sure what it's made of, but it's weirdly kind of inset into the door. And I have tried to prise it out with all sorts of things, and it's just not happening. So I decided that I would get a sheet of MDF and I would make a new door, because how hard can making a door be? I've never made one before, and it's not going to be fancy. It's just going to be a flat piece of MDF cut to size and screwed on. But I feel like it would be good practice for future doors that I may want to make when I have finished renovating the cottage, because there's a lot lower stakes involved in practicing on a room that is literally going to be knocked down at some point. So far, door construction progress is mixed. I have successfully cut some MDF to the right size, which is a surprise in itself because measuring and cutting things in straight lines are not what I'm best at. But the MDF I ordered is too thin. I ordered 12mm MDF and I should have ordered 18mm MDF because the hinge screws are going to stick out through the material, and normally I would just chalk it up to experience and buy another sheet and I would just use this for something else. However, I had to get it delivered because it was too big to fit in the car. I could have strapped it to the roof, but I thought strapping a 2-meter sheet of MDF to the roof of my car in Scotland's windy winter weather was just asking for trouble, so I had it delivered. And now I'm just going to make it work. I'm going to cut another piece and I'm going to stick them together and hope for the best. I just turned my sheet of MDF over and saw the sticker on it and realised no wonder it's too thin. They sent me the wrong size. They sent me 9mm instead of 12mm, and I double checked and I did order 12mm, so it's nice to know that I was not the one that made a mistake here. However, I've already cut it in half. I can't be bothered to deal with it. I'm going to continue on, cut another piece, glue them together, and then it will be the required 18mm thick.
I'm becoming more of a homebody every year, and since I moved out to the cottage, I never want to leave. Unfortunately, until I can convince all of my friends to move to the local village, that's not an option. Some of my best friends live over in the US, and I'm making a last-minute trip out there to visit later this month. Saley, this week's video sponsor, are helping to ease some of my travel anxiety.
Saley is a global eSIM service, helping you stay connected while you travel. With affordable data plans for over 160 countries and 24/7 customer support, the days of picking up a local SIM card at the airport are over. eSIMs are digital. There's no need to remove your existing SIM card, which is good as I lost the little key for mine years ago, and they allow you to use multiple phone numbers at once, meaning you're not going to miss important messages from back home while you travel. Available for iOS and Android, it's as simple as picking your data plan, downloading the Saley app, and then activating when you arrive. You can get an exclusive 15% off data plans when you enter the code JUDE at checkout. Simply download the Saley app or head to saley.com/Jude. Thanks to Saley, I'll be able to check in with the friends looking after Sven while I'm away. How many photos is it acceptable to demand of your cat while you're on holiday anyway?
I need to accept that it will always be chaos in here.
I've got a door. Well, actually, I've got a sheet of MDF that's slightly thicker than I'd like it to be now. But as my mum always liked to tell me when I was complaining, beggars can't be choosers, Jude. I think I might plane down the edges where it's not quite flush. I'm not even sure if you can plane MDF. I'm going to have to Google that. I have never planed anything in my life.
It turns out that not only can you plane MDF, but planing is really satisfying. While the primer was drying, I decided I might as well turn the old cupboard door into something useful, because you know I wasn't throwing it away. The shelf above the door in my workshop has seen better days. It's slanted, splintering, and things fall off it when I close the door. A prime candidate for replacement, and I have just the door for the job.
I don't think there's anything better than a useful project that doesn't cost anything. Is it the most attractive shelf in the world? No, but it's in my shed, which is definitely not the most attractive shed in the world.
My tree ties arrived, so I could replace the makeshift cable ties on the fruit trees. In a shocking turn of events, reusable cable ties are not the answer to everything.
After last week's video, I had a few comments from people saying they thought my fruit trees might be a little bit too close to my driveway. I really appreciate all of the comments and the advice and the cheerleading that I get every week. I think I have the nicest comment section on YouTube, and now I am trying to decide if I have the energy to move my fruit trees or not. I definitely don't have the energy to do it today, even though it's pretty good weather for it. I think I might move one of them at the weekend. This apple tree should probably be moved to where I'm standing, which is about 3 feet away from where it's currently planted. But I've already dug up my rhubarb this week and fussed around with that, and it's pretty soul destroying to spend some of the precious hours of daylight in Scotland in winter redoing things that you've already done. So I'm going to put this on the back burner for the weekend, and I'll worry about it later.
I decided I wanted a blackboard door, partly so I could draw on it, but mainly so I could remind myself when the bins go out. I have never installed a door before, something that's going to be painfully obvious to everyone watching. I watched a really useful video on how to correctly install flush hinges. However, whoever constructed this cupboard originally clearly did not have the same information. I'm aware this is not how they're supposed to go. I was just making the best of what I had to work with. It turns out working with chalk markers is one of the worst things in the world, so any plans for an elaborate mural will have to be shelved until I can pick up some actual proper chalk.
I'm pretty happy with the door. It's functional, it opens and closes. I'm not sold on the blackboard finish. I tried to wipe some marks off it and created even more marks. I think if I get some chalk and season the board, I might like it a bit more. So that's on my shopping list next time I leave the house. The next thing on my list to tackle is this shelf rack system.
I'm not going to change it too much. I just want to add a couple of shelves so I can store some smaller jars on it. All available storage is really important when there isn't much to start with, especially if you stockpile food like I tend to.
I've got the first coat on the first side of all of my shelving rack pieces. If you can hear the geese in the background, I apologise. They have been squawking like crazy this week. I've got about an hour and a half to kill before I can flip my shelving pieces over, paint the other side, then let that dry. Then I'm planning to assemble it, get it in place, fill all of the screw holes, and then paint another coat of paint on it. And I'm going to do that in situ, which will probably make a mess, but such is life. I think I'm going to do, before it rains, a little bit of garden work.
As I was doing this, I thought there's a large chance next week's video will start with me undoing it. But I wanted to mulch my rhubarb, and I thought it would be silly to buy something in when these would have been going on the compost anyway. If there's a reason why this is a terrible idea, please let me know, and that's next week's intro sorted. A garden shredder is going to be high on my list of tools to buy next year. I don't think they're the sort of thing that go into the January sales, but Father Christmas, if you're watching, I'll leave a mince pie out.
I got my little shelf unit sanded and painted last night, so all I've got left to do is fill it up.
Thanks for watching. See you next weekend.